Let's give them a hand as they come on up. Thank you for everyone for coming out. Thanks for those who are watching the video. We do these, one, to hear stories about how the filmmakers made their film, but also two, to inspire you to maybe create your own projects by hearing people who've been there, done it, and survived. So I'll have you guys introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Alistair Legrand, a co-writer and director.
Hi, I'm Luke Harvis. I'm the co-writer.
I'm Ross Dinerstein. I'm the producer.
Yeah, let's give him one more hand. Yeah. So, as we know, it takes a tribe, an army, whatever metaphor you want to use to make the film. So, any cast or crew in the audience you want to acknowledge?
Max Rose, our star, is here, sitting right there.
Give him a hand.
He worked on this movie in child years 30 years ago. It was February 2014, and he has grown a few feet. So, he's a little different right now. He has a beard. You won't recognize him.
Yeah. Nice. We're going to jump right into it. Alistair, talk a little bit about your personal history. This is your first feature, so kind of how did you kind of get to that process? How did you learn filmmaking? Kind of share a little bit about that.
I've wanted to make movies since I was a kid. Growing up in this really remote, spooky farmhouse in Maryland, my mom, we would watch movies one night of the week, and it was on Friday night, and we would always watch the classics like The Red Shoes and the Godfather series and all this stuff. So I grew up with this intense love of movies because it was a really special thing to me because we were in the middle of nowhere and we never went to the movie theaters. So that really instilled like a deep love of the format and of movies in general. So eventually, after becoming a passionate movie fan, I worked as a projectionist for a really long time in Philadelphia, believe it or not. And I eventually saved enough money to go to film school in Canada. And once I couldn't work anymore in Canada, I moved down to Los Angeles, became a PA on sets just to support music videos that I would make during the weekends with my cinematographer, John Frost, who shot this movie, actually. And we started doing music videos in 2008, 2009, and that turned into a full-fledged career. I would just find bands on Craigslist that weren't that great and pay for the whole video, and eventually it got me enough exposure that companies started to hire me for it. And that led to corporate commercials and stuff like that. And eventually I met Ross Dinerstein over here, our producer, and he really liked this other script we'd written and my visual work, and he asked if I had any other projects, and I pitched him this movie, and they loved it, and we were off to the races.
Nice. And horror genre, for lack of a better term, is what you knew you wanted to write and pursue, right? So what was your kind of background in knowing that's the mode of expression for yourself?
I've always loved the macabre. I've always loved spooky things and Halloween and shadows and scary monsters. It's just, it's really hard to explain to people how and why you love horror and why you love genre films so much. And because usually when you're just like at a party or something and you tell people you make horror movies, they're like, what? It's like you're telling them you make snuff films or porn. And it's really weird because I think horror is incredible and it can be really good if used well, because you can take all the other genres like drama and comedy and science fiction and kind of loop them underneath this banner and tell so many interesting stories. And I think it's one of the more artistic genres because you're working with so many departments to try to create this very fantastic heightened sense of reality. And I've always loved horror, and it's my favorite genre. So I would always kind of curtail and always try to make sure that my music video work and commercials had a horror focus, and that's sort of what I became known for, which was taking a subject that normally you'd see in like a Saw movie, like a person bleeding on the ground, and I would try to make it look really artistic and beautiful. In real life, I'm one of the nicest people you'll meet, and I love, I love Halloween, and so it's the perfect genre for me to work in.
And then Luke, talk about how do you guys know each other? Because you guys have a pretty long history together, and then kind of into how do you become writing partners?
Yeah, I've known Alistair since I was like 12, maybe 13. He didn't go to my bar mitzvah, but it was close. I think I met him like the week before. I just missed the invite. Yeah, which is too bad. But we used to skateboard together a lot. I think that's mostly it.
Yeah, we were in a skate gang. That's kind of how we met each other. Is I would always be the kid who was picking up the video camera, filming things. They'd be like, film the skaters, and I'd be filming like a rock because I thought it looked pretty, or a cloud, and all the other kids would hate that. But yeah, it was just mainly a love of skateboarding led to sort of like us watching movies all the time together, and we both knew that that's just something we had to do.
And later on, like skipping school to go to the movies, all those good things.
Yeah, I should say that once we moved out to Los Angeles, we were both so broke that we had regular jobs just to support our writing careers, and we would work all day at our regular jobs and then just write at night. And I know you hear that often, but it really actually ended up kind of working out for us. So if you have a normal job out there, don't ever give up hope, because we've slaved and worked and tried our best, and so far it's working out.
We do understand that it's also a miserable process.
Yes.
So.
Yes, yeah. That's the best part of a writing partnership, is you can just stare at the other person, and procrastination just goes out the window because you're making them feel really bad about not working.
Max, Rose, do not drop out of school.
Yeah.
Do not listen to these guys.
Stay in school.
Stay in school.
Talk about that writing process, because partners are different than by yourself. So what is your guys' process of writing together? What do you have a certain style? What's your process?
You want to start?
Yeah, I think it's possible because we didn't know any better, but we started out in the same room, passing like drafts back and forth, and we actually still do that. So, it's not done remotely. We've worked like that before, but generally speaking, we're in the same room we're within like 10 feet of each other. And then, so if I write, 5 or 6 pages, I pass the draft to Alistair. Alistair reads back what I just wrote, and then makes whatever changes he feels like it, and vice versa. So the nice thing is that you actually get like a second set of eyes immediately on, what you just did.
Instant notes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you guys are definitely different personalities, so do you feel like each of you brings a certain kind of point of view, or do you guys like someone focuses on character while someone focuses on something else?
Oh yeah, Luke's our character guy, and he kind of, a lot of the characters and what we write are sort of based on our personal experiences, and I think Luke is really great at dialogue and sort of making sure that the character sounds believable. A lot of it comes from my own experiences, and we sort of mold that to the movie. And then I'm kind of more the visual guy, and I'll try to set up the scenes, like they're running in slow motion up the stairs and the monster appears behind them, and like try to really just be poetic with it and create and Luke is the reader of the two, so he's always writing very flowery prose.
Alistair can also read.
Yes, I can't read. I don't read. I only watch bad television.
Yeah, I try to pass off the action scenes, to Alistair as much as possible.
I love writing action, so I'll just write a bus colliding with something, and then Ross will take it out because it's too expensive.
I meddle with them as much as possible.
Yeah, Ross is like our secret third writer. Actually, it's become that much of a partnership.
I was about to say, Ross, when does the producer kind of get in and go, okay, this or that, or?
So we sort of have like an unofficial deal where I like them to write out of my office, and I buy them lunch, but I'm probably in their
free lunch.
I'm in their business a little too much, but I'm sorry, I'm just talk this way. Like these guys are a pleasure to work with. We're working on many things together, but I think the reason we have such a good partnership or working relationship is I'm very respectful for what they do, and they are what I do, and I've made a lot of movies, and I have a lot of experience, and I can sit there and say, guys, this is a great scene, but there's no way we can afford it, or unfortunately, this doesn't make sense, or it's disgusting, or stuff like that.
That comes up a lot.
The disgusting note comes up a lot.
And no bikers.
But but it truly is a pleasure to work with them, and they are very collaborative. And they'll give me the script because they know I'm only there to help. And when we have meetings to go through it, we go through it page by page, and they're really fun, but they're also, I think, really constructive. And they'll be, most of the time, I don't just say this doesn't work. I say this doesn't work because of this, or why don't we try that? And I'd say 8 out of 10 notes I give are probably good. 2 of them are probably sort of producer annoying notes.
The important thing is to just have it helps to have slightly similar taste to the people you're collaborating with, because one of our favorite movies is They Live, so instantly there was that connection. We kind of grew up in a similar time period, and just really all want to make elevated genre material. And I hate saying that, but it's true. We want to make horror movies and science fiction films and action films that are actually really good with characters you care about, because that's important to us.
Great. Let's get a little specifics into this movie. Where did this story come from? And kind of, it sounded like you had the script before you went to Ross with it. So talk a little bit about the story, and then
Luke is a time traveler from the future.
He's a prisoner from the future.
Excellent. Perfect data.
We actually didn't have a script. It was just a concept. It's a movie I've always wanted to make because I am a huge fan of poltergeist films and haunted house films. But as you guys know, 4,000 of those come out every week now. And it's really fun for us to try to reinvent the wheel every time and try to make a concept that no one has ever thought of, or, just an interesting take on it. It's how and why we think of ideas. So time traveling ghosts was something I've always wanted to do, and I think I thought of it one day when I was watching a bad paranormal reenactment show on the Discovery Channel. Just trying to figure out a new way of showing why objects move on their own and why rooms get cold and why things go bump in the night. That would be really cool if that was all because of time travel. And I pitched that to Ross, and he got really excited, and we wrote a treatment. And then, yeah, you want to throw in anything there?
I mean, I've made probably 4 or 5 haunted house movies. So the last thing I wanted to do was make another haunted house movie. But this twist, which I guess we shouldn't talk about because it's going online, but there was a really interesting twist that I responded to, and then Alistair's visual style. And we started with the treatment, and we started the first draft, and the first draft was fantastic, and then the second draft needed more work, and we sat down and really dug deep and figured out what was working, what wasn't, and then the third draft was perfect. And a fun sort of anecdote about the whole process was we developed it with Larter in mind as the prototype, as who we'd love to get, but never really thought it was realistic. And I remember when I called her agency just to get them to cover the project, and I go, think of Larter as the prototype. Who is that? Who's the next Larter? I'm like, why don't you just make an offer to Larter? And we did. And Alistair was, having lunch with her 2 weeks later, and it just doesn't happen. Stuff like that doesn't happen. Where we made one offer for the lead of the movie, who's a movie star, who I'm sure you guys can all attest is amazing in the movie. And we just got so lucky with her, and she was such a pleasure to work with, and she brought so much to it. So it was one of those kind of like the Hollywood gods shining on us.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it was so fast. It was 6 months from kind of the idea stage to production. So I mean, that's ridiculous, and you can't ask for more. And I was so nervous when I walked into the office before I had my first meeting with Ross and his company. It's just funny for me to think about now. I was like looking up breathing techniques online.
Yeah, I was.
You want a helpful tip? Like really, if you plant your feet on the ground supposedly and really feel the weight in your body, you'll be less nervous. That's nonsense. So, yeah.
One thing he forgot to put pants on when he came to the meeting.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So, but now it's just we went and made a movie, so anything can happen.
During that first meeting, I was actually sitting at my day job, like staring at my phone, waiting for the text.
Yeah, Luke really hates his job.
I did.
I think I talked you into quitting your job, right?
Yeah, sort of.
Nice. Can you maybe give 1 or 2 examples of what changed in that kind of script process from draft 1 to draft 3 to kind of get it to a shooting script? Was there?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it was a bit more, like Ross just said, it was just more expansive, and there's stuff that we could probably just save for sequels to the film, and it was kind of just bringing it to a point where the movie was more. I don't want to say smaller scale, but it was just a little bit easier for us to make and produce, because I was new to making movies, and Ross was our guideline, and he never forced anything on us, but he would recommend things that would make production a lot easier, and so you sort of have to tailor your script. You can have a huge scene in the future where there's like people walking around and microchips and stuff like that, because that's going to take 2 weeks out of your shooting schedule, and it's just common sense stuff that you just start to learn, and I actually have a lot of fun trying to just sort of craft things in a way that makes everyone happy and try to make the best story possible for the size.
I mean, a couple of things, and again, it was never anything major, but there was a draft where there was a neighborhood barbecue, and there was all these new characters brought in, and a bunch of Halloween decorations. Like, look, it's great, it'd be awesome, but it's a day of shooting and probably $25,000, $30,000, and it just doesn't really push the story that far along. And I think another thing that sort of came through the drafts, the connection between the prisoner and Max Rose's character also I don't think existed till the second or third draft.
Well, we had a much darker ending in a way where Allie just sort of goes into the future, and that's all you see. That's it. It's one timeline, and it sort of makes the time travel make a little bit more sense. But Ross wanted a little bit more of a human element to the story, so we had her come back, and I actually prefer that version now. I love it, and that's different. And also the idea, we had one meeting with Ross once the script was a couple drafts deep, where he asked us to connect it more to the family. And he's like, there's got to be some sort of connection. There's got to be some sort of connection. We were kind of scratching our heads, and I just asked him, why don't we try to tie Jacob to the prisoner? And Ross loved that, and we sort of came up with the timeline that is the story you see today.
And the other thing, too, I remember was we wanted the connection to the actual house. We didn't want it to be sort of the wrong place at the wrong time, and it was just like a random thing for the family to be going through this. So we wanted to have that kind of geographic connection to the the evil company as well.
Yeah.
Great. So you mentioned it, 6 months for pre-production. That's a quick. That's.
I mean, it's not even 6 months for pre-production. It was we met
we
met in July
and then 6
and
months.
Shot in February.
Jeez. So talk a little bit about that.
No script in July.
How do you make that happen? That's not the norm. So.
A really strong will and being broke and having no other options and just really badly wanting to make a movie. And also Ross is just really good at getting things done and was really helpful in that. And also my background in music videos really helped me be more scrappy, and I could really make something look a lot bigger than it is, and that helped me. And the biggest aspect of that is preparation, and I would like to come to set as prepared as possible. I want every shot storyboarded. I want to make sure the actors know exactly what they're doing. I love rehearsal unless the actor doesn't like it, and then I can work with them on that. But it's just about making sure that everyone's on the same page quickly, because in low-budget filmmaking, every shot counts, and you really only get like 1 or 2 takes.
We also didn't take a day off from writing it. I mean, it was like every day. It was after work. It was the weekends, which is it's not great for like a social life, but it's pretty good for making a movie quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
And frankly, the script was awesome. That's the secret. The script was really, really good, and then getting Ali Larter on board as quickly as we did, typically you strike out, and the casting process can take months, years. I've had movies that took 7 years to get made, and the fact that a movie star said yes the first round on a first-time director goes to show you that the script was really great. And then getting Max Rose, game changer.
Of course.
And Ali also said that if I hadn't come to that meeting without being prepared and knowing the exact background to every single character and how every scene was going to look and all that, I mean, I was so nervous, but at the same time, at least I knew where she could be on every scene and what her motivations were and all that, and she was great from then.
Great. Talk a little bit about that. How many days did you shoot? Where locations?
21 days, which is 3 weeks, and it was very fast. Yeah. And we shot here in LA.
Yeah, you can clap that out.
I love filming here. So the biggest obstacle was trying to find a house with a lot of character in Los Angeles with a basement, which is impossible. So don't ever look for a house with a basement in this city. We built that basement in the backyard. And it was just an exhaustive search for the right location, and we finally found this neighborhood at Crenshaw and Pico. It's like Victoria Place, and it's amazing because it has all these beautiful Baroque mansions. And we went door to door with our location manager, and we got the house, and it was that's how we found it.
Nice.
But did the basement look real? I mean, could you tell that we literally built it. We built it in the backyard.
Built it in the backyard
with flats, and as we all know, it doesn't rain in LA. And the night before we were supposed to shoot in the basement, it rained like I've never seen it rain before.
Yeah. But it's right. The last day of shooting just smelled like mildew, and Ali Larter was covered in blood, and I was panicking. Yeah.
The backyard, just because you had that space to do it versus a different space?
Yeah,
versus a soundstage.
Yeah, we couldn't have really afford to rent a soundstage, and this backyard was actually quite big, and it was great because we were able to sort of build it during production. Our production designer and her team could kind of go from the house to the backyard. And yeah, I mean, in hindsight, we probably shouldn't have done that. But
shout out to Mona Nam, our amazing production designer.
They built it from scratch, and again, it's a testament to her that like not one person here noticed that was just a piece of a bunch of wood.
Technically speaking, the house did have a basement, but it was really just a flight of stairs that led to like a blank
dirt
wall. Yeah,
and they had plumbing issues, and it was disgusting.
Yeah, but I went home on Christmas break, and we shot in February. And Christmas break, I went into my mom's basement and took pictures of every single segment, and I sent that to our production designer, and then she redid it in this movie.
For no money.
Yeah. So obviously the raining is one story, but any other behind-the-scenes stories of like, okay, you saw the final product, but to get to this shot, dogs had to stop barking, we had to talk to the police or rain, or...
We had an irate neighbor.
Yeah, a very irate neighbor.
She would spray us with water hoses, but...
And she'd turn her...
Oh, she'd blast soul music.
Yeah, blast soul music, and then she would threaten, she'd say, you know, pay me to turn the music down, and then I'd call the cops, and the cops were actually amazing and said that's illegal for them to do. But we definitely had, you know, a neighborhood association, in quotes, make us pay, you know, $3,500 in cash. So I'm sure that was dispersed.
I'd say that's the only downside to filming in Los Angeles is everyone's very jaded and no one wants to be woken up in the middle of the night, which makes sense, you know, because it's where everyone lives. But I mean, at the same time, that's how it's different. When you go to other cities to film, everyone's really happy that you're there, and they're like, "You must be Julia Roberts," and it's like, no, we're just.
But we're super respectful, and we really didn't have any other issues, and the homeowners never complained. And
but they did have really spooky children.
I wasn't gonna say that,
Yeah.
but you know, I've made a bunch of movies, and it was arguably the smoothest production experience I had. I mean, my wife was super pregnant, so I was always sort of stressed about that. But yeah, no, it was very easy. It really wasn't hard. I mean, we got very lucky because our actors were so into it, and they all delivered, and we had a really great crew. And you know, Alistair, you know, his first movie, you wouldn't have known after 5 minutes of the first day that it was his first movie. So, and we had a great mother of Max who was always around too.
Yes, it helps that the parents of your child actors are really sweet, nice people, and good at just kind of being chill on set and helping us out. And yeah, also Max is not a diva.
Not yet.
I did essentially just feed Max Dr. Peppers and Cokes to keep him. Because he is more of a social life.
He's got a Dr. Pepper problem.
Right, he's more of a social life than anyone else involved in the movie, so he was always very exhausted, so we fed him Pop-Tarts and Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about casting. When you write, do you have specific visions? Like you had, obviously, for Elliot, that was her prototype, but for the other characters, how specific are you in how you see them? And then you want that to walk in the door, or are you open auditions to go, I'm just open to see who walks in the door?
I was actually just talking to my girlfriend about this. I realized that part of the fun of casting, I mean, it's really fun to have someone in mind like Allie, but part of the fun of casting, because we're about to get started on another movie, is that you don't really have someone in mind specifically, and someone comes in and then it just clicks, and you're finding them, and that's what's so cool about auditioning and just sort of working, you know, and doing notes and adjustment is because that person, you're kind of trying to find them and find a collaborator. And that's the brilliance of it. And I would hate just knowing exactly who I want for each person and getting them all, because I think the beauty of it is sort of, is just finding someone naturally, you know, that just walks into the room and blows you away.
Nice. You can also maybe fall into a trap sometimes when you're writing it and writing in that person's voice who you're imagining. You know, which might not always be the best fit.
Yeah, because your script's being interpreted by someone, and that's the beauty of filmmaking, is your production designer's interpreting it in a different way than your cinematographer, who's interpreting it in a different way than your editor, and the actors are the first ones that get to do that, really. You know, they get to read it and sort of create their own characters, and everyone, it's like when a person tells you the dream they had the night before, they're just going to kind of remember it in a different way, and that's what's so cool about working with actors is that they're just going to totally have a different take on the story. Allie came to this from a different place than Max, and Max came to a different place from Chloe and Arjun, and it was just, yeah, it's great. I love casting.
Talk a little bit about that, because for actors walking in the room, it seems always a mysterious thing for the director to go, how do they know this is the person? Because there's so many factors. So For you as a director, how do you know the person was the role?
Well, I guess the best story I can tell for that question is finding the right child actors for this movie, and this goes across the board. And it was a big struggle at first because we saw a lot of children for this film, and they were all great. And in Los Angeles has just a huge wealth of child actors, but they were all just a little too perfect, and every single line of dialogue was said exactly how it should be, and really smiley and
very precocious.
Very precocious, and so it was getting depressing after a while, just because I really wanted grounded, real human beings in this movie, and finally Max came in and blew us all away because he was just different, and that's all you're looking for. And that's why you shouldn't stress out about, like, every director and every producer is just going to be looking for someone who's just trying something a little bit differently. That's kind of like you're just kind of differentiating yourself from another group of people. And Max did that exactly, and he read the lines as the character, and then suddenly it felt like, oh wait, did we write the script for him in mind? Because he was Jacob, you know? And it was the same with Chloe. She sent us an audition tape, and she was so natural and believable, and she was crying, and it was like kind of shocking, and I was like, I'm not going to make her do that, but that's insane.
5.
Yeah, she's 5, and she looked like Allie, and it was great. And so yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
I mean, I remember getting texts from Alistair saying, watch this audition. I remember watching Max's audition and watching Chloe's audition, the little girl. And I bet you we read 50, 12-year-old boys, and there was not a second person. So Max, you could have held out for more money.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's truly a puzzle piece where you can't force it. It's going to fit, and you're just waiting for that one that is going to fit to make it work.
It's alchemy. It's the right day, the right weather, the right time. You can know your lines, but just don't stress out too much, and just try to figure out your character, and approach it from just a real place. And if you're comfortable saying the lines, that's the best, like you're in the room, and you can do this character, and you're not stressed out, and you're as natural as possible. That's going to work wonders.
That's great. So the movie just came out, so you want to
we just came out on October 16th. We're on demand everywhere. We're also showing at the Arena Cinema here in Hollywood, and we're on iTunes, Time Warner, DirecTV, Cox, Amazon Prime. It's hard not to watch this movie if you're looking for it. I mean, we're everywhere, so try to check it out.
And what next projects are you guys working on? What's the next thing?
Am I allowed to say?
As much as you're allowed to say, in general terms.
Yeah. We're doing more of a psychological thriller. This is sort of our horror sci-fi film, and the next one is going to be sort of like a David Cronenberg, Brian De Palma film that we're really excited about, and it's about a psychiatrist and the modern world of face transplants, which is I looked up and is quite frightening, and I've been obsessed with it for a while and always wanted to make a movie. And face transplants, don't ever Google that. I'm dead serious. I've given people nightmares.
But it was the same type of thing where it was a Sunday and I'm reading a script or something, and Alistair texted me and said, is this a good idea? I was like, this is a really good idea. Let's do it. And we developed, 3 drafts in 2 months, and we're making it.
Yeah. And we're going to shoot in February again, because that's the best month to film.
Just keep it rolling, February. Yeah. And then we always like to wrap up kind of a golden nugget question. We'll go director, writers, and then producer. If there's someone out there who's looking to make their first feature, from your point of view, what would be kind of like a nugget of wisdom you'd want to leave them with?
Make things, but do not stress out about them being perfect, or you will just be depressed at the end of the day and want to just not make things anymore. So when you're making shorts, and I always recommend to people to try to make music videos and stuff because it's such a great learning curve. It's such a great playground to just sort of develop your skills as a director and a writer. And same with like the screenplays we wrote before this. I mean, I'm not going to say this is like incredible, but I mean, like the screenplays we wrote before this were awful. And that's okay, because we were learning how to write screenplays, And the first one out of the gate isn't going to get sold or anything, but you're at least just kind of learning by the process. And you need to really just kind of like stumble, get bruised, get cut up, and then you're going to come back even stronger. And, that's okay. If you made something bad, don't worry about it. Just go make the next thing.
Mine was actually going to be that. But my really boring piece of advice that I should have done when I had a full-time job was I should have taken like as much percentage of each paycheck as I could have and then banked it. And then that would have allowed some cushion when I finally did leave.
Save your money.
Yeah.
No job is a bad job. Just do it because you're supporting your art.
Yeah, that's super boring advice, and I wish I had a better one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's advice that's probably most needed.
Yeah.
And I had something funny to say, but
Let's go down the alphabet. Did it start with an A, a B, a C?
Anyway, my advice is, we're lucky to do this job or to get to do this, and I just think, surround yourself with very creative, talented people that you really enjoy working with, because look, we've been working together on this project for 2+ years. This is sort of the end of it, but it'll be, February of this year will be. When did we start? I don't know. Anyway, we're almost at 2.
It'll be 2 years. It will be 2 years.
It'll be 2 years, and so we met 2 years ago, July.
Yeah.
So we've been working on this movie for over 2 years, and we still have a little bit ways to go, and we're doing another one, and I think that says a lot about these guys, and is that I can't wait to do another one with them. Literally can't wait.
Yeah, you really have to like the thing you're working on. That's what's anybody watching Project Greenlight right now? Like, it's insane that how much
miserable. Yeah,
the producer is just miserable, and I'm like, why are you working on a movie? Movies take so long to make. You have to like it a little bit. Like, you just have to you have to drive to work a little bit happy. I don't care if you're depressed and stressed out about your life. Go to set with just a little glimmer of hope. Like, this is going to be good today. That producer is just miserable. Don't work if you're unhappy. Just go. Life is so effing short. Go do something else.
Yeah, I finished my last movie 8 days ago, and I feel like I can't wait to get back on set. I feel like I'm wasting time not making another movie.
And I love starting pre-production. I love driving to work, listening to movie scores, thinking of shots. Like, that's my happy place. And as long as I get to that, then I'm good.
Also, if you're a writer, find someone that you really trust to give you notes, not just someone who's going to, smile or whatever. That's not really helpful.
Yeah.
Are you talking about me?
Okay.
Partially.
We're going to say thank you. Let's give him a hand.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks for coming out.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
And thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you all for coming tonight.
Yeah, thanks for watching the movie.